What more important thing could we do today? How do you improve your mental health and your mood? Part of my job as a psychologist is to illuminate the obvious, which is so cool because I get paid to tell people things I already know, show them things they already see. This is an amazing adventure for me. There's a lot of obvious things that are unnoticed, obvious but unnoticed. Think about how that works out on a daily basis for you. This video, for example, is in English. Okay, now you're thinking, well, that's obvious. Of course it's obvious, but you don't notice it or pay attention to it until it's called to your attention. The feeling of your clothing. Yeah, pretty obvious, but unnoticed until it's called to your attention. There are processes going on in our mind that are obvious once they're called to your attention, but unnoticed right up until that point. So my job is to bring those to your attention. You guys, I am not here to tell you how to think or even to tell you how to feel. I think you're never wrong about how you feel. I want you to see how it's happening, because once you have that knowledge, you're in a place of power. Here's one of the obvious but unnoticed processes in our own mind. It's called metacognition. Let's break that down. Cognition means thinking, okay? We'll put that right here at this level. Metacognition is a higher level. It's thinking about thinking. This gets a little loopy, so stay with me. And it'll drive you nuts if you do it too much. But notice that you can think about your own thinking. This is good news, you guys, because metacognition creates a space. And in that space is where choice exists. You don't even have a choice until you see that you do. And until you see it as a choice, it's not. Understanding the concept of metacognition, you turn on your thinking about thinking, and I'll share a model with you that I've presented in some other ways before. In fact, you can link to that right up here in this video. Here's another take on it that might help you to get a better handle on how you're actually thinking. So let's start with a line, a continuum. And on that line, I'm going to write what it is. It is what it is. You've heard that before. Is that a little annoying? Depends on who's saying it and why. For today, all it means is the way things are. Okay, it's where you are, it's what you have, it's who you're with, it's the way things are without changing anything. It is what it is. Now, this will make more sense if we put it into a context. So imagine with me that you go down to the school. You're just going down there to take care of something for one of the kids. And minding your own business, you walk into that front hallway of the school and you notice a commotion going on right over your shoulder. As you turn to look, some guy in a ski mask just came in with a gun. How would you feel? Yeah, me too. And we've all seen the news. I hate that these things happen, but it does sometimes. Those feelings that would immediately come upon you, just notice that, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. Unbeknownst to the gunman, the police officer assigned to the school is standing right behind him in the hallway. And this cop's thinking, not today, not on my shift. I don't think so. Gets up behind him, throws him into a bear hug, and takes him down to the floor hard. In the process, you hear the explosion of a single shot from that gun. Boom! And then you feel a bullet hit you. It hits you right in the foot. Wait, did you feel something change there? Yeah. Let's take a look at what your mind is doing in this process, okay? Now, it is what it is. And what it is you get shot in the foot. That's it. Scenario over. You go off to the emergency room. This guy goes off to jail. We're all done. But your mind's not done. Your mind is working on this thing. What's the first thing that it's doing? I call this first process evaluation. Evaluation means judgment, and you can't turn it off any more than you can turn off gravity. Your mind is going to do this. Judgment. So you're constantly judging yourself, your family, your spouse, your work, your situation, your finances. You're judging me. It's cool. I'm judging you too. You can't turn it off. How does our mind judge? The word evaluation itself implies comparison with some standard. You know, some standard by which you can measure what it is. So when you take what it is, you get shot in the foot, your mind is asking, it's judging it. Is this good or bad? Is this lucky or unlucky? Is this fortunate or unfortunate? I don't know. I'll check. Now your mind checks. How does it check? Has to have something to compare it to. Can you imagine anything better than that? Anything better than getting shot in the foot? Oh, you can. Yeah, me too. Like not getting shot in the foot. Like how about no gunman comes into the school? How about nothing bad happens? How about everything goes just like I planned it to? That's how my life rolls. Yeah, that's la la land. But you can imagine it. And that's my point. So when you take getting shot in the foot and you compare it in your imagination to something better, like not getting shot, how do you feel about getting shot in the foot? This is awful. Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. And you're never wrong about how you feel. How you feel is 100% consistent with the way your mind is doing this process. But you're probably getting ahead of me, aren't you? Yeah, because you can also imagine something far worse than getting shot in the foot, can't you? Yeah, me too. In fact, when I said you feel a bullet hit you, what were you imagining? Not your foot. At least most people weren't. Yeah. You can imagine getting shot right here in the core or between your eyes or some vital body part, right? But that's not the worst thing that you can imagine when I said a shooter comes into the school. We've all heard the stories, we've seen the news. You know what could happen. And your mind kind of went there, didn't it? Yeah, so did mine. When we take getting shot in the foot and we compare it to our imagination of something worse, like getting shot in the chest or 5 kids being injured or killed at the school. How do you feel about getting shot in the foot? Woohoo! At the very least, you're feeling relieved, aren't you? Are you happy about this outcome compared to what it could have been? Absolutely. And you're never wrong about how you feel. How you feel is 100% consistent with the way your mind is doing this process. And this is so important because we're not done yet. And let's establish something before we move farther. What it is the only thing that's real. Everything better and everything worse, imaginary. That's not what's real. The only thing that's real is what you've got. And what it is always between better and worse. Is that true? Now, don't take my word for this. You run it through your own filters of truth and see if it's true. Because if that's true, then no matter how bad things seem, it could always be worse. Or it could always be better. Now, that's important because the position we take determines our feeling. How can we change our mood? This is how. And I'm not here to tell you to do that. You don't have to change your mood. You don't have to change your position. Just notice that you're doing it and that you might have some choice in the matter. Now, this becomes very important because we're not done. We got another process that I want to share with you real quick. Creation. Another obvious but unnoticed process that your mind is doing all the time, and we switch back and forth between evaluation and creation. How are we going to create what is to be? See, we are powerful creators, and we're going to use that creative energy. You can use it to make a mess. How confident are you that you could go out there and mess up your life in the next 5 minutes? Oh, you could, couldn't you? Yeah. That's because you've got this creative imagination. When we go to creation mode, we don't focus on something worse. We turn this way. When you imagine that what you're about to create is better than what you've already got, how do you feel? That's excitement, anticipation, hope. You don't know what's coming. Everything that we are going to create right now is in the imagination realm. It doesn't exist in the real world yet. We haven't created it yet. So you have to imagine it. Now, what happens if you imagine, because you don't know, that what's coming is worse than what you've already got? This, my friends, is anxiety. Anxiety is when we imagine that what's coming is worse. I haven't run that by the APA yet, but I think that that's a tight definition of what creates anxiety. This is anxiety. This is depression. When we get into what I call the positivity vector, it doesn't matter what it is. It literally doesn't matter what your circumstances are. No matter what, you can choose to be in a positive place relative to that circumstance. If this is resonating with you and makes sense to you, you're probably going to love my mini book, Portable Positivity, where I explain the whole model in a really quick format. You can link to this right there in the description. This is how we can literally choose to have a different mood. I'm so glad you're here and that you caught this episode. If you want a copy of that mini book, go down to the description and you can link right to it.